Hi, everyone. This is Shannon Port, and I welcome you to our Aries New Moon live stream. We are meeting here today on March 21st, 2020, and we are here to discuss all of the energies that are happening in our world right now. We'll be talking about the Aries New Moon. We'll also be talking about the Equinox energies, as well as the energy of Saturn entering into the sign of Aquarius. And so it's a really, really, really powerful time right now on the planet. And I'm sure that all of you are aware of that. I'm just going to take a peek and see if anyone is coming on live. I have not. Hello. I haven't been live here in almost 2 months. And so it's really, really, really good to be here on a live stream. I've been recording some really powerful videos. And so if you haven't seen them, I've been doing a series called the Solar Feminine Activation Codes. And we've done one in January, February, and March. And I recommend going back and taking a peek at those videos because they're loaded with archetypal wisdom and codes for this time. And so what we do is every month we break down the archetypes and we look at what's happening in the collective consciousness as well as the subconsciousness of humanity. And so, so nice to see some people coming on. Wow, it's been, and good to hear. Yeah, those videos are powerful. Oh, yes, I've been getting really powerful feedback on the Solar Feminine Activation Code. So what those are, the Solar Feminine, we could call it the Solar Lunar because it's really the marriage of soul and spirit. But Solar Feminine represents the activation of our soul consciousness in matter. And so it represents the feminine consciousness within us. It could even be said the subconscious mind or the heart being fertilized by spirit, meaning being activated, being drenched in that divine frequency of light that gives us vision and that gives us the ability to feel and to heal and to see the bigger picture. And so it's really profound. The feminine, the reason we call it the feminine is because it's the activation of matter. It's bringing matter into a higher state and bringing the human psyche and body into a higher state as well. And I also teach the light body and light body consciousness. It has a lot to do with that. So what we'll be doing today, this is going to be a really powerful video. And I did a lot of writing. And so bear with me. We're just going to look at things because there's a lot of powerful transits happening. And what we're seeing right now, we're seeing everything roll out and unfold. Everything that we've been talking about the past couple years, we're seeing active on the planet right now. I know this is a really powerful time and we're going to address our human needs and just talk about also how we can support each other and how we can stay centered and stay in our creative power. So if you're new to my work, I'll introduce myself. My name is Shannon Port, and my special calling and my work in life is I specialize in the divine feminine wisdom. And so we look at all of the astrological transits and the archetypal wisdom through the lens of what I call the divine feminine wisdom. And what that means on our platform, what we mean when we speak divine feminine, we're not talking man or woman, although we have special gifts that are embodied in different consciousness. Whatever you identify, you're going to bring in a particular range on the spectrum. But what we're talking about when we talk about the divine feminine, we're talking about the primordial creative principle, the principle that generates reality, as well as the principle that regenerates consciousness. And so this is our active ability to be creators of this reality. And this faculty within us, this divine gift within us, has been almost stomped out in the reality that we live in. We feed our creative power into various streams to create the reality that we see. And so when I work with the divine feminine wisdom, we're just taking a step back. We're looking at the archetypes. My particular interest over the past 10 years, 15 years has been deep, deep in the archetypal wisdom. And on this channel, there's many playlists. If you go to the playlist where you can see lots and lots of videos that, in fact, if you're at home right now and you have extra time, it's a lot of wisdom. It's a deep, deep well of information. But we look at the archetypes. We also look at life. The divine feminine honors the spirituality that is active in the world, that is active in the human body, that is active in what we eat, that is active in our sexuality, that is active in our relationships, in our homes, in our creativity, in how we structure the world. It's not just about the more masculine streams are about going inward, connecting with the higher self. And then a lot of them tend to have disregard for those human activities. In fact, I've actually recently was reading something that I was so surprised. I wasn't really surprised, but it was talking about how calling the people who weren't in the ashram awakening and finding their inner I am were considered to be the selfish people, the unawake people. And in that view of spirituality has been what has robbed the feminine within all of us of our ability to appreciate life in community, life in relationships, life as sexually expressed beings, life as artists, life as sovereign beings that each have this individual power. And so we're going to be talking about Aries. This is so connected to what we're talking about today. But anyway, I didn't mean to go on so long about that, but that's what we look at. I call it often, sometimes I call it divine feminine astrology, because we're looking at the archetypes, how they dance in the sky, but we're also looking at how we have access to the marriage of our masculine and feminine principles so that we know how to run this technology, so that we know how it works. And I call it Sophionic because it's related to the archetype of Sophia as creation and as the bride of the absolute. There's so much more we could say about that, but that's what we're talking a lot about when we do the solar feminine activation code. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel and you'll get notifications when we do those videos. I'm going to be doing a lot in the coming weeks and months because I know this is the time. We have walked through the door into a new reality, and it doesn't look like we're going back to the old way of life. So this is a profound portal into everything that we're talking about. And so in those moments, the ability to create and the ability to state what you want to create and what you're not willing to create is huge. It's the beginning. We call it the Aleph. It means it's that first breath of life that you're breathing into it. And so now is a crucial time. How well that corresponds to the equinox. The Aries equinox represents the beginning of the sun crossing over the Aries, the first degree of Aries. And once we start there, we're starting a whole new karmic cycle. And we also have the Aries New Moon. So this is the beginning this is the new year in the zodiac. And so this is really, really big. This is a time that the sun fertilizes the planet in a way that activates our subconscious mind. The wave of solar energy that's coming in right now, it's happening in our being, in our auric field. This is all archetypal, but when we see it and when we create those images, we have more access to it. We all know that our creative imagination and our ability to vision, that's why we use archetypes. That's why we use art, because it helps to tell the story that we all need to understand right now. So imagine the solar light in the north, because it's spring in the north and fall in the south, is coming in, and everything that's underground right now starts to vibrate. It starts to move. The earth starts to, all the seeds and the germs underground, they feel the energy and the communication of the sun coming in. And so what happens is they start to move, and life begins to bubble and reach out and call to it the elements that are going to make it reach up to the sun. It's the subconscious reaching up to spirit to open. So, and to make things green again. All right. So we started with some, I think a good image of what's happening right now. So what we'll do is we'll talk a little bit about where we're at right now. We'll look at the planets. We're going to look at the Aries New Moon, this is loaded. There's so much cardinal energy right now. All the energy we've been talking about in Capricorn, it's just absolutely, it's going to tell a story right now of what's happening in the world. And then after the planets, we'll go into some archetypal information around Aries, around Uranus, around the Age of Aquarius. And there's so much more. So we're just going to take a breath here. Aries is I am. So let's do I am in the 7 directions. Aries represents the self. It represents the power. It's the first sign in the zodiac. It represents the spirit hitting down and falling into matter. Aries corresponds to the emperor in the arcana. So the emperor is key 4. The number 4 represents matter. We also associate the number 4 with the cross of matter, spirit being crucified onto matter. And how interesting we have at this time of year, we have the Christian lineage has Easter, and then we have all the others that correspond with that. There's a lot we could say about that, but it represents the time when the spirit became buried in matter and lost all of its ability to move. It had to go through the process of evolution to create a consciousness that had the ability to say, I am. So when you say, I am, you're activating your God consciousness. The first time we could say, I am, we knew that we had come from the beyond and that we found ourselves in these bodies, which were very limited in our expression. And at the same time, they're profound. That's Aries. And that's why Aries is the self and it's the warrior, because we had to kind of fight to get ourselves up and able to make our way in the world. If you think back from the hunter-gatherers, or you think of any of our stories of evolution, we had to fight, we had to struggle to develop this consciousness, and we don't want to lose it now. We want to keep expanding it now. And that's what we talk about when we talk about the solar feminine, or the light body, the body of light. We're coming into the full realization of who we are. And so I am before me. You can repeat after me just to yourself. This is really quick. It's a quick mantra to remember. I am before me. I am behind me. I am at my left. I am at my right. I am above me. I am below me. I am unto me. And then you just take a deep breath, hold it in. It activates your solar plexus when you squeeze your breath in. Oh, something powerful I want to mention about that at the end. And then you exhale it all out. I am 3 times. I am. I know I am. I am. I am. I know I am. This is Aries, the positive side of Aries. So I leave you with that mantra. It's really powerful. Maybe we'll review it at the end. So here we go. So first of all, right now, we're at a stage where you really, really want to check in with what you're thinking and how you're feeling. Know where you're at karmically. This is a karmic wave. This is a karmic period. What that means is what we give out and what we get back is really, it's quickening, especially this time of year. What we're thinking is going to manifest, but also there's something happening right now where we have the choice of where we want to, of how accountable we want to be. There's cause and effect. And so just know what you're thinking, know what your triggers are, know what's really bugging you, know where you're super judgmental, know what gets your goat. That's Capricorn, because it creates karma. What we mean by karma is that it brings whatever you're wishing on others back to you. So you want to have an idea of that. It's a profound realization when we get that. It's really hard though, and right now there's so many forces operating on the planet, and a lot of them not very friendly. A lot of the dark forces are out in rare form right now. They're showing themselves hugely. So we're going to talk about that. But know where you're at with all of this, because this is an opportunity. There was a really beautiful poem going around the internet. Um, I don't know it by heart, but it was about taking time to really hear the birds singing, to read a book, to enjoy your family, to be aware of your surroundings, to know that we may suffer some losses. Everybody is going to, on some level. We're shedding things away. It's not easy. We've walked through into a time of uncertainty, a lot of uncertainty. But what's certain is I am. What is certain is that you're connected to your spirit, and you have infinite potential right now. We'll see how that shows up in this reading and looking at all of this, because you really want to understand, check in with yourself and know where you're at. In fact, this time being home is giving us the opportunity to do that more. There's a lot in the news. I'm staying in touch and updated with the news, even though sometimes I know it can be it really hooks those negative streams within and takes us in a direction, but that's okay. Meaning if you can we have to kind of know what's going on. And so I'm checking in a bit, but also really keeping my sovereignty and good boundaries for that space of creativity. So, Saturn will be entering Aquarius tomorrow. I'm going to do a dedicated video for this because this is absolutely profound timing. Saturn is moving from Capricorn. We've had all this work in Capricorn into the age of Aquarius. Aquarian values are going to be birthed. The karma is being fleshed out. We're going to be building new structures. Aquarius represents technology. Saturn is an old ruler of Aquarius. Uranus rules Aquarius. Uranus is in Taurus, working with the planet right now, really affecting our financial system, We knew this was coming, and it's affecting everything on the planet. Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. Saturn is entering for the next couple of years into the sign of Aquarius, and we're going to see everything start to come into form. Saturn brings things into form, but it also is going to show us where we haven't been really Aquarian beings, because in this era, with the precession of the equinoxes, as that Aries point is moving into Aquarius, there's all kinds of ideas about when exactly that happens, but psychologically the process has begun. We're in it right now. So Saturn is entering Aquarius tomorrow. We just talked about the equinox energy. Okay, so let's move into what's going on. The new moon in Aries is a wake-up call. It's huge. It's the new moon in Aries is the reason I called this massive healing crisis, global healing crisis, is because the new moon is conjunct Chiron, the wounded healer. The new moon is at 4 degrees, and I believe Chiron, I have it written down when we get to, I believe Chiron is at 5. And Lilith is at 6, I believe. It's something, they're really close in there with each other, but the new moon is at 4. The sun is at 4 degrees of Aries. 4 is the number of Aries. It's the emperor. Aries is being written right now. 4 represents matter. It represents the 4th chakra. It represents the heart. 4 represents the cross. It represents the crucifixion. And so the fact that this new moon is at 4 degrees in Aries is huge. Mars, the ruler of Aries, will be conjunct Pluto. We're going to spend some time on that because it's huge. That's military force, and it's massive power. Massive power in a good way, as well as in a way that could be very harsh. And we're going to look at that. This big conjunctions in Capricorn, really big. But the moon being conjunct Chiron is so sacred because Chiron and Lilith, in a couple videos back, I talked about Chiron and Lilith and their correspondence with the Christ archetype and the Magdalene archetype. These two masculine, feminine, soul, spirit archetypes that are take on the burden of coming into this world and understanding what it is to resurrect, what it is to purify, what it is to expand both the masculine and feminine consciousness. These two archetypes are conjunct this new moon. So we have dark moon Lilith that carries the raw, creative, sexual power. Some of the most, also some the whole the underbelly of that feminine force when it's misdirected. So she represents how that energy can be totally out of control. It's so nice to see you. She represents Lilith has a double meaning because she represents our power and our feminine power, but she also, like all archetypes, has the shadow of the feminine, and she represents that misuse and the dark use and suppression of sexuality, as well as the aggression of sexuality and the carnal desire to just consume, to be obsessed, to be addicted. That's the shadow. You can think of addiction. It has very scorpionic themes. Lilith does, and so she's bringing her light and her dark. And the Christic force Chiron represents. You could think of it as, I was really thinking about it as when in the archetype of the Christ comes into matter, is born into matter, and is crucified. You can think of how this force that had all this power comes in and becomes helpless and literally dies to this reality. This is Chiron, but deep inside knows who she is. So even though they're limited, we are limited on this cross of matter, there's a deep ancient memory of I am. I am one with the entire creation. And so we can teach it because we remember it. And as we teach it, we heal our own wound. This is Chiron. And so the new moon in Aries, conjunct Chiron and Lilith, is just so beautiful. It shows that this is a time of healing. And so now let's just take a moment and talk about what's happening in the world. We have, we have the coronavirus. We have everybody's at home right now, which is amazing. And we have this virus that has an attack on the lungs, the breath. The life breath is represented by Uranus and Taurus, and the life breath is spirit. This is really big for those who have ears to hear. The virus attacks the life breath in the heart, in the lungs. The age of Aquarius is the age of the heart. It's the age of the breath. It's the age of brotherhood and sisterhood. So how interesting that the forces have chosen that there is this virus that attacks that, the ability to breathe, because spirit is ruach Elohim. Spirit is prana. Spirit is pneuma. It's the ability to breathe. It's the ability for the divine to come in. We don't have consciousness until we breathe. Once we take that first breath, and that's what our zodiac, that's what our natal chart is. We take the first breath of spirit, and boom, that's our software. That's what we're carrying for this lifetime. That's what the natal chart is. That first breath, that's the software that you were given, and it's fascinating how it happens. So all of this conjunct the new moon. We also have, and I read this on a couple of astrology sites, that we have the fixed star. I do not know the pronunciation of this, but I'm going to say it. Deneb Katos. I'm sure I didn't pronounce it right, but the fixed star is conjunct. It acts like Saturn, and it's the tail of the sea monster in the constellation of Aries, or of Pisces. It's a karmic. I read that it acts Saturn-like. It's conjunct the new moon, and so because Saturn's entering into Aquarius, we also have this fixed star, and there's an asteroid too that has a similar theme. It's a lot of energy right at the new moon, and so look at where Aries falls for you. For me, it falls in my 8th house, very karmic, very much about relationships and Scorpio themes, but find out where the new moon falls for you, what house it falls for you. You can do that on any astrology site. You can get a free chart anywhere if you don't know. And you'll see the area of your life that you're really being affected by the new moon. All right. So the new moon. All right. So we talked about, okay, Saturn entering Aquarius. Okay. So this is about ego or vision. Are we going to choose our ego going forward, or are we going to choose Aries as vision? The archetype of the emperor, the archetype of Aries rules the head, and it rules in many ways. It's where the solar force is active in the mind and out the eyes. In the tradition, in the archetypes, Adam is really coming in through Aries, the sign of I am. Adam, the higher being, was manifest into the lower world through Aries, and then becomes the namer. We name everything, and that gives what we name reality. So we create these laws of nature based on correspondence as to how we've named things. That's what we do. We came into matter, and there's all this potential, all this substance and material, and everything has a name. The name is the mantra. And so in order to name, we had to have vision. But right now, it's our vision that's been really distorted and inverted. We don't see the soul and spirit, we see only the body. And that's where we have a problem, because we don't realize our infinite, we don't realize that we're infinite beings. And so that's what we're waking up right now. I'm going to get to the planets in just a second. Uranus and Taurus, we said that for the next 7 years. Oh, I just want to say this, that the new moon is squaring. We're already here. We're on the planets. The new moon and Lilith and Chiron are squaring the nodal axis. So the nodal axis, the north node and the south node, this is what's crazy, is that star, Deneb, is the tail of the sea monster. So the new moon itself and all those planets we just mentioned and stars are squaring the north and south node. That's our subconscious mind. The lunar nodes represent our subconscious collectively. So we have the new moon is squaring our karma, basically really connecting with our subconscious mind and to wake us up. The north node is in the sign of Cancer. At the top on my channel, the highlighted video is the return of the cosmic mother. That tells everything about the north node in the sign of Cancer, but the north node is coming to the end of its tour through Cancer. I believe it's at 3 degrees at the sign of the new moon, but I believe it's going to only be there until July of this year. But once it leaves Cancer, all the gifts of the mother are going to be downloaded into the psyche of humanity. This new moon is squaring those nodes. And so now let's get into the big stuff. So, all right. So we just mentioned the new moon in Aries. All right. Uranus and Taurus. This is huge. We know about this, but it's the financial system and it's the earth. All the way we have our reality in this world is changing. It right now is a time to really just prepare yourself for change. And that's not to be negative. But if you think about it, if everything we've known up until now is changing, that's very big for the human psyche to grasp. And you'll see why this has to do with governments, financial systems, religious institutions, everything when we look at Capricorn. It's all on. Everything we talked about in the Saturn-Pluto conjunction is on. This conjunction has done its job. Everything is playing out according to the archetypes. Now, remember, the human consciousness here is under the influence of the zodiac. We don't have to be, but these are the forces that act upon human consciousness. That's why in the Divine Feminine, we look at it. We honor the fact that there are forces. Of course, we can be aligned with the one force, but if we just are aligned with the one force, we have to ignore reality. So we want to participate in reality as well as know the inner reality as truth, as the one truth. So I'm tempted, I want to jump right into Capricorn. So it's a global healing crisis because Chiron is saying it's time to heal the self. It's time to regain vision. It's time to regain power. It's time to remember how to create reality. It's time to remember with Saturn and Aquarius how we can connect with each other. Double Aries, sun rising plus new Mercury. Wow, that's a lot. Yes, and please feel free to comment. I know you guys are pretty quiet. I'm not sure. It looks like there's some people here. But anyway, this is really, really powerful time for healing. And we're going to need to heal. We're also take care of yourself with the virus that's out there. Drink lots of hot water. We'll talk about this at the end, but everybody's talking about it. Drinking, sipping hot water. I have mine right here throughout the day. It just cleans your throat. This is not medical advice at all, but this is ancient yogi advice and also very practical homeopathic advice that drinking hot water helps. The virus does not like heat, and so it's good for the throat and the passageway into the belly. And so sipping hot water, I also feel like it feels very divine when you just sip on hot water. There's something. Water represents love. Water, we live in the water element. The Hebrew letter mem represents the soul. The soul is a water element being spiritualized, and we're adding the fire to it. That's the solar feminine. But water is love. It sustains us. Without water, we would die. We have to have water. So sipping hot water is very, very. There's a lot of meaning in it as well. So. All right, we're going to jump into, we also have Venus and Taurus. Venus is in the Earth. Venus is going to go retrograde this year. Mars is going retrograde. Venus will be going retrograde on May 13th. And that's our finances. That's our love, our relationships. It's wealth. And so there's the Venus going retrograde as of May is going to show there's going to be a lot of shifting. I don't want to say loss, but shifting of everything. We'll be doing a video for that. Of course, it's going to be big. All right. Let's look at Pluto, Mars, and Jupiter in Capricorn. Saturn in Capricorn too. Right now, Saturn will be at 0 degrees Aries tomorrow on March 22nd. So this is what we're seeing play out. Capricorn represents the powers. Capricorn represents the government. It represents politics. It represents religious institutions, represents banks. Aries also represents the military. Aries is military force as well. It's power, and it's male, masculine military power. So we have the Aries New Moon, but then we also have these conjunctions. We have Mars and Pluto together, and Mars and Jupiter. That's military as well. And I'm not saying that to be fearful, but that's top-down power, having high authority, and that's what we're seeing in the world right now. We're seeing, for the very first time that any of us can remember. Even I was in New York City for 9/11. I was on Wall Street at the time of 9/11. I saw what happened in New York. So I know what it's like to see a major crisis and how things change. But this is global. That for the first time, I mean, everybody's inside. I mean, I got a text yesterday saying that taxes are postponed till July in the US. I don't know if that has ever happened in history. Let me know if it has. And by the way, make sure to come back and comment if you're here live. I want to really hear how if we haven't touched base, I'd love to hear how you're doing and how things are playing out for you. But we have this strong military authority right now, strong governmental authority, and it's being expanded. So we'll just look at these archetypes. Mars governs Scorpio. Mars is the old ruler of Scorpio, but Pluto is the ruler of Scorpio. Mars is connected to Aries. Mars is the ancient ruler of Scorpio, but Pluto rules Scorpio. Mars rules Aries. Mars is the ruler of this new moon in Aries. So you have the ruler of the new moon in Aries conjunct Pluto, the ruler of Scorpio, in Capricorn, the sign of the patriarchy. So we have Mars and Pluto together. Pluto can also, with the Scorpio themes, it represents the underworld. It can represent secrets. It can represent deception. It represents the occult and hidden wisdom. It represents our power of regeneration from the divine feminine perspective. That Scorpio power represents the seed, and it represents the power of the divine mother to regenerate through us, through the life and death and rebirth process. So we have that archetype, Pluto, which has been highly, highly lit up since the Saturn-Pluto conjunct Mars, military force, power, sovereignty. But right now, when we look out into the world and see how it's playing out, there's definitely an authority being given from top down. And so we need to take a step back and look at that. What does that mean to us? Like, this is something really big. Let's just shift for a minute. What does that mean to us? I'm an individual. I live on this planet. There's governing structures. There has to be some kind of governance, but I'm still a God being connected to my heart, connected to my divine feminine, my own creative, regenerative, generative powers. But I'm in this world where these things are happening. What does this mean? How do I take a step back, assess what's going on without giving my power away? Honor health. We have to honor health, honor the crisis, honor the suffering. We'll talk a lot about that when I do the Saturn in Aquarius video, looking at brotherhood and sisterhood and community. We have to honor each other. But what does that mean? If these things are happening, if these changes are coming in, some of them coming in perhaps dressed as a savior energy, but really not so much. What does that mean? How do we connect with our power through that time? Human beings since the beginning of the time have lived through drastic changes on this planet. We are by no means the first humans to go through. We've all been on the cycle. We know what it is in our DNA and our cellular memory to go through trauma. We know what that is. But right now is one of those times where huge changes rolling in. How are we going to, what part do we want to play in that? We have this ability to communicate with each other for now. We have the internet, we have social media. So we have something that other generations have not had. How will we use that? How will we unite? How will we go deeper? How will we marry love to power? How will we claim our own Aries energy and know what to do with it as things are shifting without going into fear? This is really, really big. So we also have Jupiter, and Jupiter will conjunct Pluto soon, and that's a massive conjunction as well. These players, Jupiter, Pluto, Mars, their archetypal energy is profound. Jupiter rules Sagittarius and is Pisces as well. So, or it's the old ruler of Pisces. I'm sorry. I look at the old rulers and the new ruler of Pisces is Neptune. So we have Jupiter's going to expand everything. It's giving expanded power for regeneration, but also to the outer. And so let's just take a moment now and look at what more needs to be said around this in the positive. Because Uranus is in Taurus, it has to do with our abundance, our food, our homes, our financial. If everything in those areas changes in the next coming weeks or months, what would we do? How would we come together? How would we recreate? How would we activate the power of our own creative imagination to birth a new reality? There's a lot of deception in our world, a lot of discord, a lot of deception. Most things are not what we think they are. In a way, we've allowed this to happen, and in a way, many people aren't even aware that this has happened. The controlling powers of 3D are not powers that are awake. They don't have vision. I talked a lot about this in the past couple of videos I've done, but there hasn't been, I'm going to take a look down at those questions in just a moment. There hasn't been a lot of real wisdom. It's the feminine that's been suppressed. So that's why my calling was to work with the feminine, not in the divine feminine, as well as the healing of all of our inner feminine, as well as the healing of the female polarity, as well as the understanding of healing the planet. The feminine has been, and this is what a lot of the work that I specifically address on the Art of the Feminine platform with the Divine Feminine Wisdom, has been just hijacked and manipulated and punished. It's been punished so that it went into its own fear. And that's Lilith. She holds the energy of the rebellion. And so does Eris in Aries right now, which is squaring all of this activity. She holds the rebellion. That when the feminine rebels, it gets kind of ugly because the feminine is the ultimate power to create and to lash out with emotions and rage and fire. Shakti is feminine. And so the feminine, we've seen the rage and the fire of the misused feminine principle. Now we need to find it within ourselves and understand it. It's through the heart. So this is what I'm getting to, that we have to understand the heart. There's a lot of reasons to be angry. We need to get those feelings out. We need to look at them. I deal with mine all the time. We have to understand why I'm mad at so-and-so, why I feel cheated here, why has this happened to me here, why me? We have to look at those things. We have to get angry with whoever we need to get angry with, get it out, and then regenerate our feelings and start to see now how we can take that power and bring it back into us. It's the age of the heart. What this means is that the heart has to be activated. The heart is the ultimate power, and it's activated through our breath and through the joining of the fire and water principle. In the archetypes that I work with, we have fire, we have water, and air is the central channel. On the tree of life, it's the central channel. We have the fire principle, the water principle, love and aggression and war. We have love and war, love and hate. But it's breath that harmonizes, and the high priestess works with the breath to balance. The true wisdom comes through breathing and letting the deeper emotions that are healing, creative emotions rise up. I didn't even intend to go into this right now, but that opens our heart. When I can breathe and then I can see you clearly. Notice when we're in a fit, sometimes our eyes get demonic. We see what we want to see, and that power comes and seizes us. But when we're breathing, all of a sudden, everything starts to vibrate differently. You can see the spirit in matter. I do this when I teach a course called Light Body Yoga, and we have a practice called Light Body Alchemy, where we work on seeing spirit through matter. So we'll take a room or a scene and look at it and breathe and focus until we expand into the periphery, and you start to see the vibration of matter. Matter's vibrating. There's really a lot of light in matter, and it has a sound too. So all of these things are things that are helping us to understand what we really are beyond this whole 3D scene, what we really are. Oh, nice to see you, and blessings to you. Okay, I'm going to look down at this. Have you, I have a blurry contact right now. Much more beautiful people look these days. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Yes. Yeah, people do look beautiful right now. I've noticed that. Somebody just made a comment of how, have you noticed how much more beautiful people look right now? I have noticed that. I can't believe how long this video is going, but I want to talk about a couple more things and then we'll close out. Yes. There is a lot of, nice to see you. There's a lot of beauty being birthed in the world. This is what I saw after 9/11. Everyone got really awake. In fact, when I was doing my shopping a few days ago or a week ago, people at the grocery store and the farmer's market were talking to each other. I have lived in this area for a long time. And I moved here from New York City, and where I was used to being around a lot of crowds, and the people were a little chilly, I felt, where I live now. Didn't so much just talk to each other, but everyone was talking to each other in the grocery store saying, oh, what are you getting? What are you doing? Where are your kids? What's happening? We become a community again. These events, but they activate us, they wake us up because we're so cut off and compartmentalized. We're used to, interacting on social media, but social media isn't always that face to face, that breath to breath, and obviously now we're wearing face masks when we go out, but we're feeling each other. I saw on YouTube all these, this is so funny, celebrities at home now. Everyone's doing YouTube videos because for one, it must be crazy. Things are being dethroned right now. That's another big thing. I got to speed this up. Because there's some big things I would like to get to. All right. Capricorn energy, Saturn, Pluto conjunction, all of the things that are happening right now are definitely happening. There is no doubt that this is on. And so we'll be checking in with the energies because it's fun to look at them. And it's also fun to give the ability to be within and to completely ignore it as well. And so in the astrology I work with, we always go into the sun as the center of the zodiac. We access that 13th point in the center of the wheel. And that takes us right up into that brings the Kundalini all the way up and into the heart. Okay, Saturn in Aquarius, we'll do a specific video for that. All right, Mercury's in Neptune, so our minds are a little hazy right now in Neptune energy, but also very spiritual. Neptune, the ruler of Pisces, or Mercury's in Pisces, in Neptune energy. Neptune is in Pisces. All right. Venus, trining Capricorn, trining the planets in Capricorn, that's huge. Venus is in Taurus and she'll be trining to all that activity. Well, what that shows too is that all of the activity happening in Capricorn has a connection and an effect on wealth and on all the qualities of Venus in Taurus. So there's a trine. It's positive. So let's call in the positive in that area. All right. So now we'll look at some of the archetypal wisdom. I'll go 5 more minutes. This is big though. Things are being dethroned right now. The patriarchy is being dethroned. So what's happening is that there's a lot of power and might, some of it good, some of it not so good, but people are being taken down. And this is happening across the board. This is happening in spiritual communities. It's happening in corporations. It's happening in governments. It's happening where, some of it's just, some of it may be corruption, but a lot of old powers that were able to hold their authority, a lot of spiritual teachers are having to step down because some of the projections that were not truly honoring both male-female principle and the heart are being seen. They're being called out for what they are, and it's karmic. But it's also part of change, and it's part of healing. This is the global healing crisis. Everything is coming back down. As this happens, we're seeing there may be turbulence. There may be a bumpy part of this path. So we want to really, we'll be fine. We're going to be fine, but we have to understand that it's a possibility. The Cancer is, the North Node will be in Cancer. The final few degrees in Cancer is probably going to be really about the Divine Mother energy being birthed into the world. If you have a calling in that area, now is your time. And by the way, I just want to say in my own work, I'm getting so many people right now have extra time. But a lot of people are worried and concerned about things and rightfully so. There's a lot of shift going on, but this is also a time that you can really study and I know in my work, I work from home, so I'm kind of aligned with some of the direction that things are in right now. But this is also a really good time to study and to download new information and integrate it so that you have it. And so I know in my work, I'm do a lot of mentoring. And so I'm getting a lot of calls for that right now. It's a big time because we're shifting into a new era and everything's going to be different. And the wisdom is going to be more in demand. And we're shifting even how we make our money and our sustenance. And eventually, probably money will be something different than it is now. But right now we use money. And so right now we honor we'll see how much longer we have, but we're honoring it to the best we can. The world has been structured on codes of deception and inversion, a divide and conquer technique. So what that means, and if anyone wants to bring in any questions or say hi, please feel free to. I'm going to get this in and then we'll wrap it up. So our world, Aries represents the fall, and it represents the inversion of the truth. When we see the tree of life and then the tree of life inverted, we can see that we're living in an inverted reality. What we place our value on is also oftentimes coming from an illusion, the lust and the greed. And a lot of what we've seen over the past 10 years, it's been heightening and heightening and heightening, even though there's been more expression, which is very good, even on social media. But we can also see our addiction to form, empty form. So much of this, I want this. It's so much, a lot of ego. And this is part of our learning process. So that's not there's no judgment on it, but it's like we had to take it all the way to the bottom to snap back and realize that we're a spirit too, that we value each other beyond our bodies, that love is love. Love isn't about love. Sexual attraction and romantic attraction starts with chemistry and the body and even our inner archetypal coding. But love, once we love somebody, it's so deep. it can't be changed. I mean, there's different things that come into play because we're physical creatures, of course. That's not to deny that, but we're taking, I call it the in the divine feminine, we take our initiations in this world where, let's say in love, you start out very young, and if you go through the arc, you end up very old. You've shed the beautiful young bodies you had, but the love is stronger than it ever was. The love gets strong. It goes through matter. It goes through the aging. It goes through the death of the body, and it comes out the other side within. I wrote a letter called the Awakening the Eternal Maiden Archetype. Ultimately, we're all eternal youth. That's what we are. That's what the Fool is in the Tarot, that we're the eternal youthful creature. That's our true identity. But in this world, we oftentimes love and get warm or cold for people based on only how they look. That's something is really going to be tried and tested in these coming years. We're going to and then something completely new will come in. But we're meant to understand the heart and what real. The reason I correspond the mother love to real love is because I talk about this a lot in the video that's on my channel on Shannon Port. It's called The Return of the Cosmic Mother. The mother, the true archetypal love of the mother. Obviously, we have the wounded mother archetype on the planet. Loves her child regardless. She doesn't get a child and say, "Whoa, I wish I had." I mean, the true mother doesn't say, compare it to other kids and say, "I wish I had that kid." There's this profound love of the being. And even as it grows up, even regardless if it's handicapped or has different differences or learning differences, or, this is a beautiful child or a child that isn't the ideal of beauty, the love is so deep. And it goes through the trials that child comes through, knows it can always come to its parents, ideally as an ideal archetype, and they will love it. That love is the true love. It's the love of the God source that we love. We know that regardless of what we go through, the Divine Mother loves us. She has no judgment. We're going through this process, so that's why we have that archetypal mother. We're learning that kind of love. It's so powerful, and when we learn it for each other, obviously, it doesn't mean that we allow people to take advantage of us or hurt us or we have to have wisdom. But beyond all of that, there's a higher lesson to the divine love of the mother. So let's see. I think we talked a lot about this. I am as the warrior. We're going to either discover the self or discover selfishness. Aries is opposite Libra. We'll be doing the Libra full moon video soon, which is powerful at this time. Represents the balance of art and beauty and the breath. It's an air sign, how we breathe to have balance and create beauty. All right. We got a lot in. I'm sure there's some things I missed, but it was really, really good to be here. This is a much longer video than I've been doing. So nice to have you. I'm going to do another video, I think tomorrow, on Saturn entering Aquarius, but I just want to remind you, because of everything that's going on, I announced that I was doing, my 3-month mentoring program. I kind of pushed it off a little bit. If you are interested in doing that program, please contact me. I know for a lot of people right now, it's a time where you have extra time at home. If you've been wanting to go deep into this and learn this platform and understand how you can integrate it and apply it in your life, it's a really profound coaching mentoring program. You can contact me. So that being said, it was so nice to see those of you who could be here live. And I'm just really sending you a lot of blessings until we meet again. Leave me comments. I want to hear where you're at and what you're seeing. It's important to check in with each other right now, and so we know what's going on in different areas. And that being said, namaste.